Rockstar will use a fan-made patch to solve load times in GTA Online. Today we talk about the ever-apologetic game delay. The Xbox Game Pass just got a whole lot beefier, and the PS5 cross-compatibility is a technical train wreck. Welcome back to the dodump. GTA 5 Online will finally have its load times fixed, and it's all thanks to a fan mod. Yes, a fan went to benchmark their PC and was actually able to discover just why the load times were taking so long. Just the simple boot into GTA Online versus starting with a logo, then going to single player, then going to online mode saves a solid 30 seconds. All right, we got some speedrun strats, but that's a drop in the bucket when over 30% of players sees a 6 to 15 minute load time. Over 80% of players see an over 3-minute load time. That's disgusting. 3 minutes on actual high-end PCs. 3 minutes. And as someone who works as a computer engineer, I had a pretty fun time reading this. Thanks to this diagram, the player was able to see that after loading the common assets between single player and multiplayer, the CPU's usage just randomly jumps up. And this is where the multiple minutes of loading happens. So why on even crazy powerful PCs are we seeing this insane CPU bottleneck? The crazy thing is that no network memory was being used or video memory, just in the CPU. And it turns out it was code so horribly unoptimized that I have no idea how you could have gotten past any coding interview to even touch a piece of code. It's so bad that I would go and assume that this code was generated, and that's why no one has ever looked at it in the 7 years that this game has been out. So what was the problem? Well, for you tech heads, I really suggest you check out the article. It's pretty cool how they went about investigating it using disassemblers and process dumping. There was a very long list of in-game items that reached up to 10 megabytes in size. So the list had 63,000 items in the list. And for each item, it used such a poor reading API. It had to check all the items in the list to read one item, and then to store the item, it also had to read all of the things in another list to make sure that it was unique and then store it. And the crazy thing is that all 63,000 items in the list was already unique. So just that realization alone can half the number of processes here. Assuming an insert is the same as the extraction, you know, we're keeping it simple here. So all this guy did, cache the large items from the list, you know, save it in memory. So if it's already in memory, you're just saving processing power. And because every item is already unique, you don't need to check against every single other item to make sure it is unique. So their solution could have been even optimized further because they couldn't rip out the reading API because the reading API is still not an optimal one to use. And the result was that they were able to make the load time 70% faster. If the majority of players see a 3+ minute load time, that's already 2 minutes they cut for everyone, not even including the load times cut from just booting straight into GTA Online. How is such horrible code allowed? How is such horrible code not seen for 7 years? It had to have been generated on the fly. There's no way that someone hard-coded such unga bunga read everything code. That is, and you know, in a lot of these videos in an industry, especially with cross-compatibility and new hardware coming out, the word optimization gets thrown around a lot. This is a perfect reference for people that are not that technical to understand how dog shit code can ruin an experience through poor optimization. Think about the days, weeks, months, years that people have collectively spent in loading screens that had this unga bunga code got looked at earlier, this would have been fixed. But anyways, moving along. So there was a few stories that came up these past few days that made me want to talk about game delays. Halo Infinite, Balan, Wonderland, and Dying Light 2. I want to talk about these 3 games and recent news events because they all have a different scenario of the game delay. We're not going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 because we'll be here all day. Anyways, Dying Light 2 has the developer stream this Wednesday, and we might be seeing a release date. It's expected to come out this year, but it was announced all the way back in 2018. Techland has came out and said that they think they announced the game a little early. You don't say. If you haven't been caught up to Dying Light 2 news, there are some pretty bad stories coming out from people leaving the company about really poor management when it comes to game design philosophy, and even the main artist who worked there for 22 years leaving the company last year. And with a pretty sizable batch of people leaving the company recently, one can assume that it doesn't have the best working environment. And I don't need to assume because there's been stories about the management in Techland. Based on poor management, we can assume that this game got delayed from 2018, which falls under one of our 3 categories. The stockhold, please. pleaser, where a game is announced not even close to release just to strike the iron while it's hot, to tell the public shareholders, look, we got a really cool project we're working on. This is happening right now and will make us a bunch of money the next year when it's released. Oh, sorry, we gotta delay the game. That flowchart on a business standpoint, even if their shares dip for delaying the game, would still be less than their company going years with an unannounced project and just we're working on stuff in the background. And if you don't believe me that management over there is kind of poor, reportedly the lead manager of the game idolizes CD Projekt Red. So yeah. To the studio's credit, in a recent announcement, developers have stated how they caught up with the times on the game development, and I don't think management is going to release an unfinished game with the idea to patch things later after the PR disaster that was Cyberpunk 2077. Our next game, Balan Wonderland, did not get delayed, but things are pointing to that it probably should. This weird Square Enix passion project produced, brought to you by Yuji Naka, got some harsh criticism after its open beta, demo. And I haven't played the game myself, but just looking at the footage, I can see that this game doesn't look like it plays very polished. Fujimoto says there's been a wide range of opinions and responses to the demo, and unfortunately at the current stage of development, it simply isn't feasible to reflect every piece of feedback into the game. However, to offer you all a more balanced gameplay experience, we will be implementing a day one patch. Specifically, this patch will adjust movement controls, camera movement, and rebalancing of the difficulty. There's just over a week left until launch now, so I hope you all enjoy the world of Wonderworld to your heart's content. Now here we fall under the should have been delayed category. Now, like I said, I haven't played the demo, so I'm kind of speaking out of my ass here, but that's what this whole show is. But from what I'm seeing here, there's only so much you can address from the few months that this demo has happened. Now, why does this happen? Maybe they don't have permission to delay with their publisher, Square Enix. Or maybe the team still thinks that it's okay to just fix things in a later patch. Or maybe they see it as the game has to hit right now because it's the optimal timing to maximize profits, a la Game Freak. Or just delaying is not an option because you gotta hit that release date, man. It's the right timing. It's like that YouTube upload. You gotta hit it at like 2 p.m. when your audience is there. Except for me, I upload at like midnight because I have to work a day job. So sub and hit that bell so you can get gaming news pretty late, but it's there. And highly opinionated, of course. And in our final category of delay, Halo Infinite. The delay that's done right. What they showed off at Halo Infinite's gameplay debut is what can be seen as a finished game to a lot of AAA devs in just the we'll patch it later scenario. And since then, they delayed the what would be Xbox launch title to just polish the game. Not actually finish the game, but polish it. A game that's delayed because it's just outright not done shouldn't even had this weird arbitrary release date, probably set by some chairhead executive to please stockholders because they have some gaps in their fiscal year. I know I'm kind of skimming over the actual news of Halo, but this happened like last week, so. But it looks like a cool game. You can throw stuff off the Halo. Another example of this type of delay is like Animal Crossing New Horizons. It got delayed for like 7 or 8 months, I forget, and I don't care to look it up. But there's no way they could have like massive gameplay features or fixed what was a largely unplayable game in 7 months. No, it had to have been polishing. And just to wrap things up, then there's Cyberpunk 2077, which is the bad ending of all of this. Announced to please shareholders, lied in marketing to please shareholders, and patch a broken game once it's released. Who cares? Out of all the games I just talked about, Balan Wonderland is the one that has me worried the most. But if you've been interested in Balan and following the game and are getting it day one, let me know how you feel about it. Does it warrant a delay? Are people nitpicking? Let me know. I haven't played it. But moving along, the Undertale Xbox One edition is coming out tomorrow and it's going to be on Game Pass. But not only that, Outriders is going to be a day one Game Pass released game. Unfortunately, it's only for Android and Xbox Series X and S, not for PC. If Outriders was a day one Game Pass PC game, holy crap, I would 100% get it because my preferred way of playing shooters is with a mouse and keyboard. And for me with Outriders, this is a perfect example of what they want for people to go into the Game Pass for. Outriders I had fun with, but not so much fun that it's a full price day one purchase for me. But hell, if it's on Game Pass, all right, I'll give it a shot while the hype is there. It's for all those games that you feel like is meh to you, like a time killer. Like I'll check it out, but I'm not gonna drop $80 on it. Again, with the analogy for Netflix, it's the same thing. When Netflix first came around, there was a lot of canceled shows that people discovered that they wouldn't have watched originally that were like, whoa, this is actually great. And then Netflix went on to continue those successful shows. The Netflix versions usually weren't good, but whatever. With the rollout of backwards compatibility, FPS boost, as seen today with Skyrim, Fallout 76, Fallout 4, Dishonored, and Prey. Like, damn, it's actually a really good service if you're into the space. Easily the best gaming service there is right now. But with the peak engineering marvel that is the cross-compatibility with the Xbox, we go to even more unga bunga software with the PS5 cross-compatibility. PS5 users were seeing their disk space completely eaten up, and it was because cross-compatible games installed the PS4 version and the PS5 version on your console. That is literally as unga bunga as it gets. And I'm not surprised with at the technical showcase of the PS5, it was stated as some marvelous new feature that game updates and system updates would be so much faster, not because of the SSD, but because they didn't hard wipe running code to only re-download everything from scratch and only install the differences now. Wow, what an optimization. That's patching. You just described patching. That's not anything new. Imagine if every time you needed a Windows update, you needed to wipe your operating system off your computer. First of all, why was there not even an option? Hey, do you want the PS4 version too for some reason? This coming from a number of stories that hint for the PS5 being rushed, such as a faulty OS and not even being able to insert new SSD at launch because it would melt, which has since been patched. Man, I wish I could present myself like some of these developers, a broken human being, but don't worry, I'll be patched later. Let me know what you thought about this one. We covered a number of stories and holy crap, I've been recording for an hour. This is gonna be a bitch to edit. I really appreciate the likes, guys. It's been a struggle trying to get my channel to rebrand into this whole news thing, and the likes actually really do help YouTube know that this is what people want to see from my channel. I know it's weird. And if you're new here and you made it all the way to the end of this video, subscribe with the bell on for all gaming news stories. But yeah, I gotta wrap this one up. Y'all just got dumped on. Bye-bye.